Okay, and we're live before the train wreck, episode number 3. Starting off with daddy issues. How you doing tonight, Sean?
Good. How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad we got to reconvene after the holidays. It feels like we haven't chatted in at least a few weeks, and it's been what, about 2 or 3 now, eh?
Well, it's 2 weeks between, so that makes it feel like almost a month.
Yeah. All right. So we are live, guys. Thanks for joining us tonight. Running multiple screens here, so you might see me kind of lean around and tap around. If you guys can let me know in the comments, how's the audio on my end? Can you hear me loud and clear? Because I remember last time after we watched the broadcast, it got super loud when we launched Blog Talk Radio, and there's some people complaining about turning down the gain. So just let us know in the comments as you're watching how my audio is coming in. Good. Sounds good. Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay. Now that may change when I put out the call-in number for you guys. So cool. Everybody sounds like it's good. What's up, Brazil? How you doing? Where's everybody watching from tonight? Just let us know in the comments real quick, just where you guys are watching from. Okay. Let's start off with daddy issues, because that was kind of the topic for the intro for today's show. And generally speaking, I find this a big red flag, and I want to hear the academic shrink perspective on this, because I know that you're well versed on things like this. But it usually starts with, or it can be identified by simply asking the question early on, preferably on the first date. I mean, if what you're looking for is a long-term relationship, or if you're trying to vet for something, you definitely want to start with something like, so tell me about your childhood. What's your relationship like with your parents? What are your folks up to these days? Sort of thing. And then just shut up and let her talk. And I find that the ones with daddy issues love to reveal themselves when you get asking questions about their upbringing and their parents, and especially their dad. She may talk explicitly about her mom or her relationship with her mom, and then you say, "Oh, and what about your dad? What's the scoop behind him?" And I always find that's a really good way to kind of get the story behind the story, to find out where they go. And listen, be attentive, like listen to the words that are being said, because she will reveal a lot about herself and patterns and past behaviors, which will carry forward potentially into anything that you choose to engage with her. Do you have a vetting process for daddy issues, Sean? And what do you think of them?
Well, I like this, what you're starting off with. Like, you're just getting to know a girl. Then, yeah, you ask these questions and then you shut up and listen. That's excellent advice. But then beyond that, daddy issues is kind of sloppy shorthand. And I'm fine with sloppy shorthand as long as I'm aware of what is blinding you to. And in this case, that term daddy issues, it kind of blinds you to two important things. One is fault and one is responsibility. So if she's got something that's getting in the way of her relationships and it goes back to her father, let's say you got a 14-year-old girl who's having, quote, daddy issues. Well, it's not her fault at that point, and it's not her responsibility at that point, because somebody let her down. And if you're dad, it's not that complicated. It's not rocket science. Like, warmth and structure, those are the two things you provide. And if you can provide them consistently, you're not going to make mistakes that are going to have her ending up on the stripper pole. You'll make other mistakes, but not big ones. Yeah. So if you give her, you give her structure and warmth. And so this 14-year-old girl, not her fault if she has daddy issues at 14, but 10 years down the road, she's 24 and she's out participating in the sexual marketplace. And these same daddy issues are still dogging her. Well, still not her fault because somebody let her down. But at this point, absolutely 100% her responsibility, because all of us get dealt some bad cards and all of us have the same responsibility to evolve into functional adults. And so I like this, where you're starting, like when you're just getting to know somebody, you have this vetting process of asking questions like, what was it like growing up around your place? What's your dad like? And then you shut up in interest, but you listen. But then later on, like if you're getting serious about somebody, you're actually thinking about bringing her into her circle, you need to infiltrate her circle. And you need to find out what her relationships are like without her telling you, like get firsthand knowledge. What do her parents act like with each other? What does her dad act like toward her? Because the big problems might show up early, but the subtle problems are going to show up down the road. Like I wrote in the Tactical Guide, I wrote about this lady whose father was really cold and dismissive. And so she found guys who were cold and dismissive, and maybe she's drawn to you because there's something in you that reminds her of her father. Well, you're not going to spot that by definition, because one of the things that she had learned to do is fly under the radar. That's how she responded to the cold dismissiveness is, well, I'm just not going to get noticed by the man in my life, but I'll make sure that he knows I have problems with him in other ways, and you get real passive aggressive. And so those are the kinds of things that you're not going to see on the first date or the second date or the 20th date. Those are the things you have to infiltrate her circle and get your own intelligence.
Yeah. I wanted to show real quick on my screen. Let's see if I can get the screen share to work properly this time, because last time it just did not want to cooperate. Let's see. Here we go. Now it's doing that nonsense thing again. All right, stop. Okay, back to this. All right, so I was going to show you this piece over here, which I'm just going to read off instead. I think it'll be just as effective anyway. But I get a lot of comments. There was a video that I did. The title is "3 Women Men Should Avoid Dating or Marrying." And this happens on an almost daily basis. And one of the 3 that I identified was women with daddy issues, women that don't have a great relationship with their father. Because my take on it is, if she doesn't value, I mean, from my perspective, I look at myself as a strong masculine guy. And if she didn't value a strong masculine, virtuous man in her life growing up, why would she value one today? My experience has always been, personally myself, they just don't. They just don't see any value in who you are, what you bring to the table, and you're highly disposable, because in her life growing up, she found that, her ideal male role model, or what should have been one, was either not present, a piece of furniture, or highly disposable in her mother's life. So this girl, and I shared this on my Twitter, this comment earlier this week, which kind of prompted me to reserve this episode to kind of open it up with daddy issues. By the way, guys, we're taking calls later on as well. So she says, "So because my father decided to be a drug addict instead of a dad, I am not worthy of a husband one day. Like, it's my fault." Yeah, right. You are truly a dumb prick. Like, a man could have done what my mom did. No man could ever compete with a mother like mine. I don't need a man to tell me how I'm supposed to be treated. Instead, I had a mom teach me that I deserve the best and not to settle for some loser just to have a man around. What's your take on that?
I don't know what to make of that. Sounds like she's got a little bit of hostility that she has not come to terms with. And my thought on the whole daddy issues, it's like anything else. It's like substance abuse. It's like any kind of unresolved emotional injury. It doesn't make you undateable. What makes you undateable is not being willing to tackle it and become its master, rather than letting it drive your bus for you.
Yeah. And I captioned that screen image with ownership, dot, dot, dot. You're doing it wrong. I find that
Yeah.
these women that have these daddy issues, they fail to recognize that there's something that they can do as a grown ass adult to take responsibility for any demons or any baggage that they're carrying around. Instead, it's, as Rolla likes to say, point and sputter. You bad man, it's not my fault. My mommy told me that I don't need a man, and she was the best version of a man anyway, so F you. That's a big red flag. So if you're seeing any kinds of signs and signals like that, not taking responsibility or ownership for, the hand that you get, there's things that you can do. I mean, there's lots of guys out there like Sean that, can help you navigate through this, and of course deal with any kind of demons or baggage that you're carrying around. But, one, they don't have a relationship with the father of the household. And 2, they don't take any ownership if they didn't have any, kind of relationship with the father of the household. Kind of a brief intro on daddy issues. Did you want to say anything else on that before we kind of move on to the news topics that you linked?
Well, we can segue into this news topic just by saying that attitude of I don't need anybody, I don't need to improve, that unfortunately seems to be the message that women are getting from an early age. It's you go, girl, you're perfect the way you are, you don't need to improve. And that is a horrible message to give a girl. Like my daughter's not getting that message. My daughter's getting the message, you're doing some stuff you're doing a really good job with some stuff, and you need to improve over here. And we need to think about big picture. How are you functioning with people? Like, for example, she turned 12 this year, and her mom and I were noticing that she's a little bit self-centered, because that's what you are when you're a 12-year-old girl. You're self-centered. And so she has a job in her 12th year of life to get really good at inquiring about other people. And this is the kind of message that every kid needs to be hearing. I think little boys are getting it to some degree, but little girls are not getting it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've even started to notice that with my daughter at 9. I mean, she'll be 10 this spring. She's getting to the point where it's like, look, it's not always about you. Like, we just kind of did like a 3-day thing, with family and friends, and there was a good like 24-hour span of time where it was like kind of all about her and what she was doing with the little girlfriends. And it was like, we're not doing what you want this morning. We're actually going to go and do this hike instead. And it was there's a little bit of a hissy fit, but it's like, look, that's not a coping mechanism. It was about you yesterday. This is what we're going to do today, sort of thing. So yeah,
Yeah, and that little hissy fit she has at age 10, that's cool and that's normal, and she should have it at age 10. She should not have it at age 27.
definitely. Yeah. A friend of mine once said that, kids have a way of throwing rocks on the ice to sort of test it. So,
Yeah.
we'll do that. And if you don't push back and teach them the boundaries, then you release that girl upon the world with potential, daddy issues, sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So I found this Cosmo article. And the reason I found it is I figured, at the first of the year, I figured, I bet Cosmo has some good relationship advice for women. So I went over to the Cosmo site to see what kind of advice they had. And of course, one of the first stories was this story, 10 easy. What's that?
I'm going to post in the comments so these guys can look it open.
Okay. Yeah, it's called 10 Easy Relationship Resolutions You'll Actually Want to Keep. And it's by Hannah Smothers, and I don't know her, but I looked her up a little bit on Cosmo, and she does a lot of identity politics, victim Olympics type of stuff, but she also does some relationship advice. And what struck me about this is that I know that this is just a one-off thing for her. This isn't supposed to be some serious discourse on gender relations. She's just trying to put something out there. But what strikes me about it is that it's the kind of relationship advice that comes to women by default. It shows up in their inboxes. It's on the waiting room table when they go to the dentist. It's just everywhere. And if they're not vigilant about it, this is the kind of crap they hear over and over again. So let me give you a little rundown on this. This is 10 pieces of advice. The first 5 are for if you're single, and the second 5 for if you're in a relationship. And there's a little heading and then a paragraph of description. You don't need the paragraph of description because the heading says it all. So the first 5 are: change up your go-to first date spot. Mix up your dating app settings. That's number 2. Number 3, pick a piece of dating advice to ditch. Number 4, agree to do something completely new. Number 5, make it a rule to approach people you're interested in. All right, so there's the single advice. For the relationship advice, it's number 1, plan a tiny trip, presumably with him. Number 2, vow to go to a new restaurant every month. Number 3, do those New York Times love questions. Number 4, skip dinners out for a month and save for one big thing. And number 5, pick a day to do absolutely nothing together. So what's conspicuous about this is that it's that you go, girl, indulge yourself. It's all about you. He's an ornament if he's anything. And what's conspicuously absent in all of this is how to make yourself a higher value woman, how to be relationship worthy. There's nothing in this. And this is just one little sample, but I think Solzhenitsyn said you don't need to drink the whole sea to know what it tastes like. One gulp will suffice. And this is one gulp of the type of advice that women get. So I sat down for about 30 seconds and I came up with 5 alternatives that will make women more relationship worthy, make them better partners. So ladies, this is free advice and it'll do you better than anything Cosmo's ever written. Number 1, read a nonfiction book. Number 2, have a sense of humor. Number 3, do some charity work. Number 4, be curious about other people. And number 5, question whatever orthodoxy you've been taught. And this is the lesson that little girls are not getting, which is that the world does not end at the end of your nose. There's other people in it.
You know what I've noticed about advice? Well, not advice specifically, but when you hear somebody say "do what's right," the follow-up to what they tell men versus women is very different. They tell men do what's right, as in stand up, be a man, be virtuous, just do the right thing. But when they tell women the same thing, they say do what's right for you, girl. So it's a very different narrative that that the sexes get, and I can see how that was kind of infused into that Cosmo piece. I didn't actually pick up on it when I first clicked on the link because you sent me 3 news pieces, and I'm like, okay, click, 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 open them up on 3 windows, and I kind of breezed through them. I'm like, I know Sean's got an angle on this, and I didn't even see it until you mentioned it just now, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So what do you think causes this disparity in the advice that men get versus what women hear?
Well, men are the disposable sex, so we're not told to make ourselves our own mental point of origin. We're told to sacrifice for the greater good, to do what's right. But when you see women give advice to women, it's often limited to do what's right for you, girl. Have you noticed that with your practice?
Yeah, I have. And I'll be devil's advocate here for a little bit that, yeah, women are by nature more self-centered. And you can see it when a woman gets pregnant. Like her world collapses to 3 feet around her. And it's all about her and her baby. And this is probably an evolved adaptive thing that women have developed over millennia, that they are taught to be selfless for their children. They're not really taught to be selfless for other people unless it's in the service of their children.
Typing in here the call-in number as you're just mentioning that. Guys, we're going to start taking call-ins in a moment. And I want to stress this because people have still called in the last 2 shows about fixing their train wreck. And you'll notice by the thumbnail and by the title of the series that we're running, it's called Before the Train Wreck. And again, the origin story behind it was when Sean and I were sitting in Orlando. I think it was one evening where we were just having a couple drinks, just shooting the shit. And I was asking him about his experience at the conference. And he was like, I really wish I could reach more guys before, things got to be a big mess for them. And the unfortunate reality of it is it's usually trauma that leads people to the red pill. I know that you wrote this book as kind of like a preventative guide to vetting women if you wanted to go down the path of an LTR or a marriage. But for the most part, we end up talking to them or they end up finding us after the train wreck. And we want to try to get to people before the train wreck. So if there's something that you want to vet for, if there's something that you have a question on, if there's a spidey sense tingling somewhere, if your intuition, that little voice that goes, hey dude, are you sure you want to marry this one? Hey man, are you sure you want to do this? Something like that, that little voice is that little warning. And quite often we don't listen to that voice until it's a shout. So this show is about calling in to try to avoid the train wreck. So if you have a scenario or something that is coming up that may be a potential red flag, that's what we want to hit on these shows. So I've just posted the call-in number. It's 323-642-1618. Hopefully you can call in with the question ready, because we don't have a screening service. So have your question ready. This is what I'm stuck on. And, here's a little bit of background, and then let's kind of get straight into it. So don't call us with your train wreck. We're going to try to hit this from a before the train wreck angle. So Block Talk Radio is up. You guys can call in. The lines are open. Again, it's 323-642-1618. So while that's out there and people start to queue up, all right, we got a few callers coming in right now. You want to hop straight into calls, Sean, or do you want to say anything before we start taking those?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it, because we got about 4 lined up right now. So let's start here with 248. By the way, guys, make sure that your computer audio or whatever that's going on in the background is muted or it's reduced or whatever. Just make sure that we don't get any feedback. I want to do a quick audio check, by the way, too, because on the last show when I took calls, everybody said that my gain was really far too loud. So let's see what happens here. All right, so 248, you're on the air. Can you hear us?
Yes. How are you guys?
Sweet. Caller, can you hear both me and Sean loud and clear? Like, are we good on your end?
Yeah, I can hear you, Rich.
Okay.
How about me? Can you hear me?
Doc Smith?
Yep, you're good.
Perfect.
Okay. What's your name?
I'm Dan. I'm 27.
Okay, Dan, just give me 1 sec. And people watching live right now, is my audio coming in too loud or is it still fine? Because last time it the gain got really shitty. Let's just see here. Sounds good. Yeah. Okay. Jim goes, can you hear me now? Oh, by the way, thanks for the super chat. That's Treyland. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, caller 248. What's going on, dude? What's the before the train wreck scenario? What are the spidey senses tingling on?
Well, all right. So I'm 27. I am engaged right now. And the person I'm engaged to, she's a business owner. She makes really good money. She has her own house, has her stuff together. Saves a lot of money. It's not an excessive spender. Phenomenal relationship with her dad and her family, my family. My question is, she's had to be dominant her entire life to run a business, be successful. I want to know, how can I maintain a dominant force like Rolo says, when she's been dominant her entire life?
Is she a firstborn?
So I make less money than. Wait, what's that?
Is she a firstborn child?
No, she's the youngest out of two.
Okay. And she's dominant how? Like she runs a business, she's an entrepreneur?
Yeah, she's a dentist. So she does like just under $1 million a year in sales. I'm an engineer, so I make decent money, but she makes more. And I mean, being a business owner, like which you would know, you have to be, assertive, dominant in life, and she is, and she has all her stuff in a row. And it's phenomenal. She's, not a trainer like I don't think, but I just want to be sure that I maintain that dominance to keep her, interested, and just maintain that dominant thing that Rolo always, coaches us on doing.
Got it. And I think you said you're 27, right? Like in your late 20s?
Yes.
How old is she?
Yes. She's 37. She's 10 years older.
Oh, wait, hang on. She's 37.
Yes.
Okay.
But the thing is, we look the same age. It's crazy, and it is unconventional. But like my last two relationships or before that were, she's like way above that. So she's got a lot going for her. She's has all her stuff in her own, mentally stimulating, but this is the age difference. But I just want to be able to maintain that, dominant,
Got it. Okay. So I got a few probing questions for you. I got a couple of probing questions for you. So just stand by for a sec with me, Sean, on this one, because I want to go down this one for a bit. Where would you put her on the SMV? Like, where would you put her on the sexual market value on a scale of 1 to 10?
Probably around like 8.5.
And yourself, where do you pin yourself?
8.5, 9. I mean, I work out 4 days a week, squat, deadlift.
Okay. And what do you think she is looking for in a relationship right now? You guys said that you're engaged.
She's just looking for just to to be with somebody. Kids, she said whether we can or cannot have them. She doesn't really that's just we're both open to children. If not, no big deal. So she's not she doesn't really have baby rigs or anything. But
so I'm just going to point out, if you haven't seen it, Rollo Tomasi's in the chat, and he just put next in caps. I'm just going to stop for a second and let you jump in, Sean, because I have a few thoughts, but go ahead.
Well, my first thought is kind of shallow, but she's not going to look your age for much longer. That's going to change very quickly, and she's going to hit the wall. But what draws her to you?
We both have. What was that?
I said, what draws her to you?
We're both Catholic, so from a religious standpoint, yeah. And then
there's like millions of Catholic people out there. Why are you special?
Well, see, because when she was dating, since she makes a lot of makes a decent amount of money, a lot of guys were intimidated by her higher status, in which I was a little at first, but now it's I'm used to it, so I can accept her for who she is. So
it's an unusual choice. Most women, most women go for guys who are a little bit older than them, and it's an interesting choice when a woman goes for somebody who's 10 years younger than him. I'm not saying it's a bad choice. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but it's an interesting choice, and I'm wondering what drives that thought process for her.
We just we both have like phenomenal conversations, both mentally stimulating. We're just we're both very families are both important to us. Our faiths are aligned, politically aligned. We both love to golf.
Does she have any kids?
We just no, she doesn't.
Was she married ever?
She was.
And how many marriages has she had?
That was just one.
And why did that marriage end?
It was verbally abusive on his end, and he was cheating on her.
Okay.
What's her relationship with her daddy? Since we started off with that,
they're great family. We see them. Her family loves me. My mom and sister love her. So family wise, she's great.
All right. So you're asking, how can you maintain a dominant stance in this relationship, and where is that falling apart for you?
it's not really falling apart. I just want to keep it going. I don't want to lapse into just letting her run everything. I want to be able to be that, just whatever role is to be that dominant, just to have her still look up to me, even though I might be, younger, make less money,
Let me ask you this question.
less experience in life.
Would
Yeah.
would you say that she's entered your frame or that you're in her frame?
We both respect each other's frame. She respects like my weightlifting schedule. Says, hey, make sure you hit the gym. She respects my hobbies, encouraged me to do what I want to do. So she's considerate of all of my,
because I mean, your question is
so
how do you maintain the dominance, right? So you've got to pick one. So
yeah.
so who's entered whose frame? Because in every relationship, somebody always enters the other person's frame. So who's entered whose frame here?
I would say we'll be moving into her house. Mm-hmm. So if that would be any kind of indication of a frame move, but we basically made,
are you
equal
signing a
choices
prenup?
To accommodate each other.
Okay. Are you signing a prenup with her?
Yes, I have that. Yeah, that was her idea, by the way. Yeah, I totally agreed with it. So we have that set up. Yep.
Okay, so just so you know, you're entering her frame. You're going to be her bitch. You're 10 years younger than her. She sees you as a boy toy. You're moving into her house. She was the one that brought up the prenup conversation. So pretty good deal for her because she doesn't have a lot to lose. Family law would be on her side if things didn't really work out. The downside for you is you're entering her frame and she's 37, you're 27. So when you're 37, she's going to be 47 and she's not going to look the same as 37 right now. Women 35, 36, close to 40, they start to hit the wall. And, when they hit menopause, things go downhill real fast from there. Whereas, for guys, it kind of declines slowly because our testosterone levels drop a little more slowly. So, to answer your question about maintaining the frame, you ain't got no frame. You're entering her frame. So
gotcha.
let's just go to the red flag for a sec. So there's got to be some red flags that you're picking up on, like otherwise you wouldn't have picked up the phone and called in. So what is it that the spidey senses are tingling on?
Just with our differences in statuses in life, and then I always hear we'll say guys have to be that dominant, have to be the dominant leader in a household, and I just want to have any tips or just to or any advice to maintain that with somebody who's making more, because you'll encourage us to hey, find a woman, marry up, find someone who's got their stuff together. But if you do that, they're a dominant woman, obviously, and so how can you find somebody who's to marry up to, but then still be the dominant force?
I'm noticing that it seems like you're worried about the same thing, Dan, that I'm worried about, which is it seems like you're asking the question, is she going to respect me down the road? That's the question I'm wondering about. 5 years into this, is she going to respect who you are? And that has a lot more to do with how you're moving through the world and whether or not she can relax in your presence and know that you've got a handle on things. So what do you think about those two aspects in your life?
I've got a solid job. So and then I have zero debt. So financially I'm good. But I'm nothing. There's no really red flags right now in my current path right now. So I'm fairly solid, and
you don't sound very solid on the air, though. And I'm not saying that to be a dick. I'm not trying to kind of be disparaging here, but you don't sound solid. You don't sound like a strong masculine dude that's got his back up right now. You're asking yourself questions like, how do I maintain dominance here? But you've got no leverage, right?
Yeah, Rich. It's Dan. I'm picking up the same thing. You sound nervous, and if you're this nervous in her presence, that's not going to go well in the long term.
And she's not even in the room right now. I'm assuming it's just the three of us talking and a bunch of people listening online, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, there's no reason for you to sound nervous. There's no reason for you to sound meek. Almost, it sounds like you've got something going on there that is just not cool within you, right? Like it's not a masculine, strong virtue to communicate the way that you are right now. Again, I'm not trying to be disparaging or be a dick, but I'm just holding
No,
up the
I know
mirror,
what you're saying.
pointing to the facts and just saying, dude, just hear this out over here. You're entering into a marriage, or you're entering her frame. You're going to move into her house. She brought up the prenup conversation. You're 10 years younger than her. You've acknowledged that you make less money than her. You've got no frame. You're going to be her bitch. So just know going forward that is how she likely views the relationship, on a balance of probabilities. Like, I'm not saying like laser focus, this is exactly what it is, but on a balance of probabilities, she's probably looking at you like, I've got my life together. I'm 37 years old. I got this 27-year-old boy toy. Look at me. And I get him to sign a prenup. So if shit ever goes sideways, I get to keep all my shit. Plus I have all the lady parts. If we have a kid, I get to keep the kid. Does she have baby rabies? Like, does she talk about kids much?
We brought up, obviously, with being engaged and whatnot, and she's brought up like maybe like just one, or if not at all. So because she works full time being a dentist, so we couldn't have more than one, or but it's nothing like there's no rush to have them right now. No.
Well, hold on a sec. She's 37. There's a rush to have them. Do you want to have kids? Do you want to pass on your DNA?
I can go either way. I'm either yes or, I mean, I can go either way at this point.
Okay.
It's nothing that's like a done deal for me that I need to have kids or anything.
Okay. So like, I've talked to hundreds of guys now, like on coaching calls, and you sound very passive. You sound like you're entering her frame. Your indifference about passing on your DNA. I mean, like, there's really no point in marriage for men. I'm assuming you live in North America, right?
Yeah, Michigan.
Okay, so like there's nothing in it for you. Like, there's absolutely nothing in marriage for men, especially if you're not going to have kids. The only time that I would tell a guy to get married or live with a woman is if you're going to have kids. You have no intention to do that. It's not even something that's a priority for you. It's kind of like a back thought. To me, it sounds like you got some kind of scarcity mentality. Like, I'm wondering, did you not have abundance when you were a kid? Like, was there ration food in your kitchen when you were growing up? You could only have one yogurt a week or something. Like, I'm wondering why you're leaning into her life, into her dentistry, into her excellence. Like, when I tell guys to chase excellence, not women, you've chased excellence in this woman.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit back for a minute. Sean, you go ahead. I'm going to have a sip here.
Well, another thing I'm noticing is that you two are in very different stages of life, and she's in her late 30s. Like Rich says, the clock is ticking on her. She wants to have kids. You're in your mid 20s, and very different areas of life. So I guess I'm wondering, like, has she done the work to figure out why she picked the man she picked that she got divorced from? And have you done the work to figure out why your relationships are falling apart? And I'm wondering if you two really look at those questions, are you going to end up together?
Yeah, well, my last relationships, I mean, I'll admit, I was blue pilled, and I was like making, just going along with what, the girl wanted. And then luckily I got out of those. But this one, I feel like I do have more, control, more input. And I'm not trying to like take care of somebody. I can just, because obviously she doesn't need to be taken care of. Which is, I think it's a better, relationship for me than just trying to worry about catering to some, girl I have to take care of, which is what I think is better. But I don't know what you guys think about that.
Well, it doesn't sound better. You've got an old girl, and yes, you're not going to have to take care of her, but she's an old girl. I mean, guys tend to marry younger women. Both women and men tend to do better off in scenarios where there's like a 5 to 10 year difference, meaning the man is 5 to 10 years senior and she's younger, right? But I mean, you're getting yourself in an environment here where you're 27 looking at a 37-year-old because you've got the starry eye thing going, like she's like a dentist. Like, guys will do that. When I was younger, I did very much the same thing. But from me, like from my own perspective, I just knew that I didn't want to have to take care of a chick. Like I wanted her to show up with her own thing going on. That's that whole egalitarian equalism that Rolo talks about a lot, especially on Red Man Group and on his channel. But that was my mindset, right?
Mhm.
When you come from
Yeah.
from like a place of abundance, when you come from a place of your own mental point of origin, you come from a place of strength, masculinity, and virtue, and you don't go looking for, somebody to like Jerry Maguire your ass and complete you. It sounds to me a lot like this has got some red flags all over it. The risk level to you as a dude, in my opinion, is low because you'd be marrying up. She's got more than you have. Although, she still has a lady parts and she's 37 years old, and you end up with high risk pregnancy issues as women get older if you're going to have kids. So if that's on the table,
Mhm.
just know that you're choosing to, enter a world-class race with a 10-year-old car that's got a bunch of miles on it. You're not going to do as well as the guys that are entering the race with like, the much newer car sort of thing.
And yeah, Dan, I'm going to jump in here. When I'm hearing you talk, I'm hearing this pressure. And let's just talk strategy for a minute. What is on her side is the family court system. And what is on your side is time. And that's your biggest ally right now is time, because I'm feeling almost this pressure, like you need to make a decision. I don't know if she's pressuring you to make a decision, but I'm picking up something from it where you're feeling like cornered here. And I think your best strategy right now, since you have these questions, is to slow it down, take some time. And by time, I don't mean 2 weeks, I mean a couple of years. And if she's serious about you, okay, and you're still serious about her in a couple of years, then all right, you do your thing. But let's not throw all the advantage in her court when you've got some kind of intuition that's talking to you about something.
How long have you guys been dating for? Like, how long have you known?
Yeah. It was 2.5 years.
2.5 years, eh? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely agree with what Sean's observations are. So I'd give yourself some time on it, work on yourself, but just understand the reality of what you're entering into. You have no game here. You have no frame. You're not going to exert your dominance on her. She's going to tell you to fuck off. I mean, if you try to tell her what to do in her own house after she's done all the work to become a successful dentist and run her own practice, pardon my French, but she's going to tell you to eat a dick and get the fuck out of her house. Right. Like, there's a prenup in place. Like I've seen these types of relationships before. I've been involved in entrepreneurs groups for the last 10 years, and I've seen highly successful entrepreneurial women put up with zero shit when it comes to men. And they just don't have the patience for it. Like to me, when I see women enter into these business engagements where they're making several hundred thousand to several $1 million a year, they're not feminine women. They're not attractive to me. Like I don't look at them and be like, oh, I want to enter her frame and, be part of her life, or, blend our lives together in an egalitarian sort of equal, sort of way. I stay the hell away from them just because I know what they're like on a long-term basis. So just understand with your eyes wide open what you're walking into here. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, one last thought here. Good luck to you. But if you try to slow things down, this is one place where you can start asserting some dominance, is to say, you know what, I know we got the prenup and everything, but I've decided we got to slow this down a little bit, slow our roll. Let's take our time. I got some bad juju going on about this. So if she responds poorly to you saying, I care about us and I care about you and I care about how this turns out, and she's not going to let you assert any kind of dominance there, well, it probably gives you an indication of what it's going to look like down the road.
All right,
Gotcha.
dude.
That makes sense. Thank you.
All right, thanks for the call. Take care. All right, we got another 3 callers lined up. 410. I'll get to you in a second, so make sure you have your question ready. Any closing thoughts on that one, Sean? It almost seems like you guys like coming from a place of so much scarcity. Like he just doesn't seem to have it together, man. Like there's no chance, in my opinion anyway, that she's going to look at him as a strong, masculine sort of dude. Like it just seems like he's a scared rabbit in a hole right now.
Yeah, I kind of wonder how much skill development both of them have done, because if she's a career woman and she's built this big practice, she's probably put a lot of effort into her professional life and not in her personal life. There's trade-offs that we all make there. So I wonder about that. But one thing I liked about Dan was that he actually answered the questions that he was asked. And that's a very rare quality in a human being. Like he called up and he was looking for information and he was receptive to it. And whether he uses it or not, that's up to him. But I like the way he rolls.
Yeah, dude came in with his red flags. You know, he didn't come in with a train wreck, and that's always highly appreciated here on the show. All right, let's do the next caller. What time we got anyway? We got 9:11. Nice, we're moving along good. Okay, let's hop in 410. Here we go. All right, 410. Can you hear us? Okay.
I can hear you great.
Awesome. What's your first name?
Sam.
All right, Sam. So the red flag, the spidey senses, they're
So
tingling.
wow.
What's going on?
Wow. I got to say that last guy, that was extremely juicy. I don't know if I'm going to be that exciting, but man, that was a good one. I'll be quick. So I'm 26 and had been with my girl since I was 20. We weren't engaged, but had the place that we were going to get married picked out. She caught the bouquet at my brother's wedding, and about 2 months ago, I don't know what it was, but I just looked in the mirror and was just like, shit's not gonna fly. This is no bueno. What am I doing here? And I guess my question could be, you know, she says she still loves me and will love me forever, and I told her time apart. Should I take her back? But I'm not even gonna ask that, because we all know that's a big fat no answer to that question. But my question is now that I'm out here, I'm literally having the time of my life. It's the best decision I've ever made the past 2 months. But as I'm spinning plates and I'm with these other women, the one thing that I do notice, and I do eventually, you know, want kids. I'm thinking maybe sometime when I'm early 30s, something like that, date down a little bit. Now that I have all this free time, I feel like I just gained, you know, an extra lease on life. Mm-hmm. But when I bring girls back, I'm in the top 1% of income earners for my age. And I noticed that I don't flaunt it, but when they come back to my apartment, like clockwork, I'm 6 for 6 now, their jaws hit the floor and they're like, oh my God, what do you do? And all this stuff. And I guess my question is when I am ready to find the one, how do I kind of find that female who isn't going to look at me as the plow horse? That's what the relationship had become. And I basically had become the plow horse. I went from the sexy alpha, betatization, 1,000 concessions.
You mean with the last girl
how do I
dating
avoid that
20, right?
Now that I'm back out there?
Sorry.
Can you say it again?
Yeah, the last girl that you were dating from when you were 20 to 26, that was the one that turned you into a plow horse?
Exactly. And I didn't realize it until the past 2 months. I've just been consuming, you know, all your guys' fantastic content. So kudos to you for saving another one over here. I'm a man saved.
Okay, so his question is, how do you maintain frame and not become the plow horse? The guy's a solid dude, 26, high income earner, top 1%. Where do you live, by the way?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. And what do you do? Like, you're an entrepreneur, you self-employed? Like, what do you do?
100% commission sales. So I essentially own my own business, but I don't. I'm just in 100% commission.
Okay. Well, I mean, like, one of the first things that you said early on there was like, you know, the one, you know, which is like the one-itis sort of thing. It's like the unicorn, the soulmate notion. We've talked about that a lot. I chat about it on my channel. We do it in the community. I know we've hammered on a Red Man group. Rollo's written about it extensively. He's got essays on it. So let's kind of start with the one. Why are you locked down on the idea of the one?
It's a great question. I know that at some point in my life, I am going to want to have, you know, 2.1 kids, give or take. And that is going to come, not for the next several years, but basically I know that I eventually want to get there, but I'm so happy with the decision that I made right now. I just couldn't imagine myself there. But basically I know that, you know, I'm kind of like a roller coaster. I get hot and cold, and right now I'm like super hot. I'm in just a complete state of flow. But 5, 6, 7 years down the road, when things kind of start to change, I guess what I'm looking for is how do I make sure that I just don't slip back into that situation and become the beta, you know, the thing that I so quick. Exactly.
Okay. So first of all, have you read Sean's book?
I'm at about maybe 2 or 3 chapters in.
Good. Okay. Finish it. Go through it again. Make sure you go through it at least a couple times. That will help with the vetting process to try to spot, you know, the red flags. But I mean, the thing with the whole betatization and the one are 2 separate problems. So I'm just going to hit on those 2 very quickly, and I'll let Sean jump in. There is no one. There are good ones. There are bad ones. There are ones that break your heart. There are ones that you have the threesome with. There are ones that you take trips with. There are ones that throw logs through your front window and break your shit. There are ones that key your car. There are all kinds of ones, but there is no one. There's no unicorn. Just understand that there's no perfect woman out there. So that's the first thing I kind of want to hit on. The betatization by 1,000 concession is, it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. You don't really notice it, right? Most guys don't even notice that little
Exactly.
penny. But I think myself personally, the easiest way to identify the betatization process is ask yourself during epochs, milestones in your relationship, your dating chapters, who's controlling the frame in this transaction? Okay, so for some guys, that might mean journaling. And, there's great apps. Evernote is an app that I use a lot. You can put an app on your phone, you can put a notepad, and you can just journal on a regular basis whose frame is being entered with certain events, epochs, milestones. And then just look for a pattern. And if you notice that you're constantly yielding to her demands, whims, and desires, and she's not placating yours, you're going through the process of betatization by 1,000 concessions. And it starts with, she's going to introduce you to her family and say, hey, look what I caught. Here's Dan, look how hot he is, this amazing entrepreneur. And he's 6 for 6 and he's got a great apartment, and panties drop when women walk in, sort of thing. Look what I caught, guys. Which turns into the dude like 5 or 6 years later with 2.1 kids. And it's a short, plump wife who's bossing you around in the kiddie aisle of the grocery store, telling you you're putting the wrong diapers in the bin and saying you're a fucking idiot. But back in the early days, you were the alpha that she enthusiastically wanted to be with. So you just have to be attentive during these epochs, during these milestones in your, relationship with this woman or women, as you kind of spin plates and, let the cream rise to the top. But just be aware of whose frame is being entered with these transactions. I'm just going to sit back and let Sean go now.
Yeah, Dan. So I think just the fact that you're asking this question, I think you're going to be okay, because you seem like the kind of guy who's going to keep thinking about this. But there's 2 questions that you posed. One is being, the betatization. I think Rich handled that. The other question that you started off with was, you're 6 for 6, and when they find that out, their jaws hit the floor, and so that puts you in a bad position in some way. Good position because you're going to draw a lot of women, but a bad position because you're going to draw the wrong ones. And this is actually something that I talked about at 21 convention, that successful, motivated guys draw the wrong women because they draw a bigger crowd, and the wrong ones are going to put themselves right out in front and get your attention. And the disadvantage that you don't seem to have is that motivated, successful guys tend to get in a hurry and they say, oh, I forgot to get married, so I'm going to get married now. And they're not listening to their intuition. They're not listening to their friends. They're not listening to all the warning signs. So that doesn't seem to be an issue for you. But what's going to be an issue for you is not getting caught, not getting nabbed by somebody who just wants you because you're 6 for 6 and she's just looking to trap you, like what's her face that married the prince over there. And so I think your biggest ally right here is kind of like the first guy, like time. Take your time, but more importantly than that, you've got to get into her inner circle, and you've got to watch how she treats people. You've got to watch how she treats her sisters and her cousins and her parents, and you've got to watch her for a long time. And unfortunately, because of who you are and how motivated you are, you're going to need to spend a little more time. I usually recommend 2 years minimum that you're sizing up a girl and getting her baseline. And for someone like you, I think it's got to be longer, because you really need to gather as much intelligence as you possibly can.
I would agree 1,000%. I guess my last question is, are there any qualities that I should be looking out for on the one that's trying to get at me for the wrong reasons versus the one? No, I'm going to stop saying the one, but versus a one that I guess isn't as shallow, or I guess they're all kind of shallow. It doesn't matter.
The one thing that you should really be on the lookout for is different presentations, that she's one way with one person and one way with another. I mean, with outside of the normal, we all present ourselves a little bit differently, but she's got a little bit of edge with the girl at Starbucks, or she's got just a little bit of a shitty attitude with her cousin over there. Whereas when she's with you,
the last one, and the other thing, the way she treated her dad, that was the red flag.
All right. So she's sweet as honey when she's talking to you, but then there's this other side that comes out with other people. That's the other side that's going to come out with you later.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Fantastic advice. I really appreciate it, guys. And you guys are doing great work. God's work over here.
Yeah. Thanks for calling, and we appreciate the call, dude. All right.
Thanks.
Let him go. Who's up next? 214 is up next. So just stand by. We'll get back to you in a second. Any closing thoughts on that one?
Just keep asking the questions, man. I love that both of these guys that have called in tonight, they're very inquisitive. And I think both of them are going to be okay, frankly, just because they have an open mind.
Good. So how's the audio so far with you guys watching? Just let us know in the comments. I just want to make sure that my gain's not blaring and cutting out and making all kinds of problems for you guys. There's a bit of a delay when that comes in. They're talking about the 6.6s right now, or we're a little bit delayed on the 6.6s. Audio is good, guys. Audio is excellent. Awesome. Good. All right. It's working well this time.
Six fingers, one guy wrote.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to 214. All right. 214. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing good. What's your first name?
Anthony.
All right, Anthony. What's shaking?
And I am 21. So my situation, basically, I dated this girl who was 19 at the time, 20 now, and she grew up without a father, basically. Her dad at age 2 got into a car wreck and became physically and mentally impaired.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, basically, her mom kicked him out the house, all of that, monkey branched off somebody else. Now, my situation following that is, at the end of our whole entire relationship, it broke down to where I got blocked on all social media. She monkey branched off to somebody else and then treated me as if, I was dead, or if our whole relationship didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to get at is that symptoms of BPD/daddy issues, that off and on switch, that I love you, I hate you?
I think Sean could probably jump on this one better than I can.
That is that splitting is what that's called, and that typically goes with borderline disorder. But she's 20, man. It's hard to know where her mind is and where she's going to be 5 years from now, depending on how much work she's willing to do on herself. But she dismissed you. Well, what did her mom show? Her mom showed that when a guy is no longer suiting you, you dismiss him. So it could just be that she's doing what she was taught to do.
And here's the thing about the hot and cold, scenario. Yeah, it's a symptom of borderline personality disorder. Big mood swings like that. But the whole thing of she monkey branched so quickly and she ghosted you and she pretended like she didn't even know you. That's all women when they're done with you. It's not just her. Like pretty much all women. Okay. And if you're familiar with the notion of war brides. I know there's an essay on Rollo's blog. I did a video about a year ago on my channel about why. Let me think what the title was, but if you search in YouTube entrepreneurs in cars, and then after that put why women get over breakups so quickly. I did a fairly long video on that with some key points, but it's just ingrained into them. Like they've just been evolutionary designed to swing from one man to the other very easily. Whereas men, it takes a lot longer to get over breakups. And it's just simply because when, hundreds of thousands of years ago, when warring tribes would come in and conquer land, they would kill off any man or boy that was of fighting age if they couldn't put them into slavery. And they would take the women into their new tribe, and they would reproduce with them because women were valued. So women had to adapt to their captors. So it's just built into them. Like that's all women. Like you will find when a woman is done with you, she's done with you. Like if she breaks up with you and she moves on, she's done with you. She's already on Tyrone's D, right? Like she's already moved on. So don't think that this is unique to borderline type of women, or to try to pin borderline personality on it. Women move from dude to dude very quickly. When they're done with you, they're done.
All right, so Anthony, I got a question for you.
21, I don't have too much to compare it to. I don't have,
No, that's cool, and that's why you get to call in and talk to us.
Anything else?
Yeah. This is what you're doing right now. You're gathering data. You're 21, so this is what you need to be doing. So my question for you is, what drew you? And you don't need to answer this right now. This is something to think about. What drew you to a woman with such a traumatic history, and what are you going to do so that you don't repeat this next time?
I'm guessing it's because she had boobies and she would sleep with you.
10 out of 10 it was looks. 10 out of 10 it was looks. 10 out of 10
there you go.
Okay. All right, so we know that you are vulnerable to good-looking women who have a history. So
line up, behind another 4 billion other men that, succumb to the, to the spell of the sirens. Read Robert Greene's The Art of Seduction. There's even a shorter version on Audible. Yeah, like go through it again. Like you'll understand the different type of seductresses and stuff like that. Another good book for you to check out would be the Dangerous Personality Types by Joe Navarro, I think is his name. And there's 4 dangerous personality types, so it'll sort of help you spot for stuff like that in the future. But I'm going to wrap it up on that one. People in the comments are like, "Yep, case closed, done. Next call."
Gotcha.
All right, dude.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
All right. We got 503 up next. We'll get to you in just 1 second. I feel like we need to take a break or something. I don't know. The calls are going really good today, huh?
Yeah. You do whatever you're doing it right over there.
All right. Well, looks like we don't need a screening service. So let's go right to 503. Let's see how this one goes. All right, 503, you're on. What's going on, dude?
Yo, what's up, guys?
How are you?
Nice to talk to y'all. Thank you for all the good work. Yada, yada, yada. My question is about my lifestyle. I travel around a lot, and I make a living busking and playing music. But I don't make a lot of money. I'm just thinking, like, with this kind of lifestyle, is it even possible to maintain a healthy LTR?
How old are you?
I'm 26.
I'm sorry, what's your first name?
I'm 26. Can you hear me?
Gotcha. And what's your first name?
It's Ben.
Ben, okay. So your question is, being a musician and traveling around a lot, can you maintain an LTR?
Yeah. I've been seeing a girl for probably 3 or 4 years, on and off, and she plans on coming along and traveling with me.
Mm-hmm.
Again, she's traveled with me a few times. But, I mean, based on what you guys kind of tell me, money is a huge part of it. And I think that she's also kind of intrigued by, like, the travel, music, lifestyle. But, I mean, she's a little bit older than me. She's 28. I'm 26. And yeah, I guess I'm just thinking, she might be hitting the epiphany phase soon, looking for kind of more of a stable guy with more money.
What does she do for a living?
Yeah, I don't know.
Ben, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. And what does your 28-year-old on again, off again girlfriend do for a living?
She runs her own organic farm, and she is planning on going back to doing that, but she's going to be on the road with me while I'm playing music and traveling and stuff.
How long are you on the road for?
Yeah, I've been with her I've been on the road for about 6 months. I got a conversion van. I turned it into a mobile music studio, and
Are you a starving artist? Like, I got the impression at the start of the call you were concerned about hypergamy and your ability to generate income, and would you stick around? It doesn't sound like you're like an A-level artist. It sounds like you're kind of starting out, right?
No, I've been doing this for quite some time.
But you're not making a lot of money.
I'm not don't want to humble brag or anything, but I'm pretty good at my craft.
Okay.
Just haven't really got that big break yet, I've had other, stable jobs, and when I was with her, I worked as a bus driver for a while. So I mean, decent paying jobs, but I've always been trying to do the music thing.
Mm-hmm. You have any questions for him, Sean?
Yeah, what are you trying to achieve, and what are you worried about?
Yeah, man, I'm trying to stay with her, and I'm trying to achieve my goal of doing music stuff. But I also want to stay on the road and, travel. So I guess, like, with her going back to the farm, and me doing my thing, I guess, like, if I were to move back home with her, that would totally be entering her frame, so, like, yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? Would it even be possible to maintain something, like that while I'm on the road traveling? And
Well, you're right. I mean,
long
she's getting into
term.
the epiphany phase, right? You know, she's getting into the stage where she's starting to think about, fulfilling her biological imperative. She's probably had the tingles already. Has she talked to you about family or kids or anything?
Man, it's kind of tricky. I mean, she's kind of weird when I talk to her about that stuff. Like her parents were split and stuff, and I come from a
So,
real good family, and she kind of sees my parents, and I think that there's a little bit of envy there, but
okay. So what's her
you know,
relationship like with her father? Since we're talking about daddy issues at the intro of this show.
yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, man. I've only met him once. She moved from the East Coast, and we're out west now.
And why did she leave the East Coast? What was she leaving?
I don't know. I guess he's just kind of doing a similar thing that I'm doing, just traveling,
So,
trying to get sick of the hometown. I don't think there was any like weird baggage. I don't think she was running away.
okay, well, that's always a good question to ask is, why did you leave wherever and come to
Sure.
wherever, sort of thing. There's always a story behind the story.
Okay.
I noticed a pattern with women after I got divorced. There was, these women that left North America and would go teach English in Asia. And it was a distinct pattern. It's like they were always leaving something. They were always running away from something. They were leaving some form of trauma and trying to start a new life teaching Asian kids how to speak English. And then they would come back after about 3 or 4 years, and you'd learn about all these stories and stuff. But setting that aside, what is a red flag? Like, what are you worried about? Because I mean, like, we're kind of talking about red flags here. What are you trying to vet? Like, I'm not sure what you're stuck on, because it sounds to me like you're asking questions along the lines of, can I have a long-term relationships traveling, with my band? And yeah, you can do it. A lot of dudes do it. It's hard because I mean, if you're successful as an artist and you're up on a stage performing and you're world class at your craft, and girls are paying, or they're getting dressed up and spending an hour to get ready to come out to the club to watch you play, women are going to be throwing themselves at you. You're going to be the highest value man in the club, right? Sort of thing. So you're going to have lots of options.
Yeah. So I kind of had that, back in my hometown. I was kind of like the hometown hero. People would all come out and come to see. So I kind of had that, but now I'm on the road and stuff. So it's like I'm in a new
You don't have
city
that on
all
the
the
road?
time, and I have to start from square one again.
Right, but I mean, you don't have that on the road. Like, you're not performing and women are throwing themselves at you by the end of the night.
No, not yet, man. It was kind of a spontaneous thing. Like I just hopped in my van and said, I've done everything I can do in this town. I want to go see what else. So I did LA, Eugene, San Francisco. I did all the big music scene, and
This would
played
be
a
a
show
really
in
good
each
one
one
for
of them.
Rolo to
But
be on, because he was a rock star 20 dude, but it sounded like he stayed in his
dude,
hometown. He
yeah,
did
I
a
was
lot of
thinking the
traveling.
same thing. Really want to talk to him.
Hang on, let me see if he's in the comments here. Let's see real quick if he's throwing a comment here real quick. But Sean, go ahead and ask him more questions.
Yeah, man. Ben, so let me see if I understand the situation. Situation is you want to stay with her. That was your phrase. And I take that to mean that you want to settle down with her someday, and you're wondering if this on the road lifestyle is something that you can maintain and be settled down with someone. Is that essentially the question?
Yeah, exactly. I kind of have like my folks have been together for like 50 years, so I guess I just want to have somebody to, like, at the end of when it's all said and done, to sit back and shoot the shit with, and
Yeah,
I
but
think
you
that's
got
your
time for
guys'
that
work.
though.
So
Like, Ben, you've got a lot of time to
what's
do
that?
that. You got a lot of time, to do that. You got years ahead of you for you to vet and choose the right, one, if that's what you're looking for. But like, she doesn't have all the time that you've got. She's just kind of getting to the stage where she's like done with her party years, and you're kind of just going through your 20s right now. Like, we often talk about not being exclusive in your 20s and kind of doing your thing, building the foundation for your life, you know creating that base so that you can have that excellence well into your 30s, 40s, and 50s, sort of thing. And it sounds to me like you're asking the wrong questions. I mean, you're asking questions like, how do I maintain an LTR while I'm driving around in my van performing with my band, while my girlfriend's in tow who grows organic shit in the garden, sort of thing. And to me, the question should be more like, how do I get a fucking record deal? How do I get to open for Motley Crue or Kiss or whoever, you know, the big name is right now. I'm not big on the bands anymore, but you get the
That's
idea.
so cool, man. Yeah, I guess I was kind of hoping you would say something like that.
Well,
you
hang
know?
on a sec. Rolo's
Like
got some questions
I guess,
here in the
man, like,
comments.
it's kind of one-itis, I guess.
Hang on a sec. Rolo's got some questions here in the comments. He said, ask him if he spins plates.
I mean, yeah, I do. I've
So why are you even
I
wasting
kind
your
of,
time with this
I don't know. I guess I
conversation?
just don't want to say too much.
Huh? So
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing other girls. Yeah.
yeah, so if you're not exclusive with this chick, why are you asking questions like, you know, can I have a relationship with her and take her along for the ride? Yeah, you can. Take her along for the ride, have a relationship with her if you want, but you can't spin plates if you want to be in an LTR with this chick, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, technically, like, we've been going on and off, you know, for probably 3 or 4 years.
Mm.
And right now we're in the off, you know. But
Why are you
I mean,
on and off
she's
with her
like
for
been
3 or
putting
4
a-
years?
What's that?
Why are you on and off with her for 3 or 4 years? Like, what makes it an on and off thing for you?
There's just been some shit, man, like some red flags. Like, I guess I was thinking about the dentist guy. I totally entered her frame, you know, like I moved in with her on her farm and stuff, and I totally beat it out. And you know, this was pre-red pill, but I left her, and I noticed that you know, because I left her, I kind of caught her, like, you know, talking to some dude. I'm not sure like what exactly happened, but they were like meeting up and doing a lot of things together. So like I left her as soon as I found that out. But so we were
sounds like you've
together.
got one-itis for this one girl, but you still want to spin plates. You still want to be sexually open, right?
I mean, yeah, I would definitely prefer to stay with her though, just because it's been such a long time. You know, we've had a lot of really cool experiences together, and we both are.
Hang on. You stop right there, Ben. This is the fallacy of sunk costs, and guys fall into this where I've spent so much time with her that I don't want to lose my investment, basically. And you know, it's just a basic economic principle. You can't let yesterday's news affect, or yesterday's investment affect today's decision. Is that the main thing that's driving you here?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, well, stop it.
Yeah, dude, man, you've got one-itis for this chick, and it's only going to go away if you've got options. So it doesn't sound to me like you've got options, right? And it doesn't even sound to me like it's a smart thing for you to do right now. Like, what is she bringing to the table aside from her sexual agency and the fact that she's the epiphany face? And your sunk cost fallacy with, you know, we had some fun times together.
Like resources, or I don't know. I'm just not sure what you're asking. What do you mean? What is she bringing to the table?
Yeah, well, you're bringing things to the table like, well, we had some fun times together. Like, is there more than just that, or is she just like, we had fun times together?
Well, I mean, I do like her, like, as a person. Like I said, we have a lot in common and stuff. And
Okay, so here's my question then. Why are you asking if you can have a long-term relationship with this chick if you're fucking other girls?
Well, like I said, man, we're off right now.
Right. Okay. So
you know, I wouldn't be doing that kind of stuff, and if we were together, like in a monogamous thing.
Yeah. You're 26, man. Spin plates, have some fun. You know, if you can lock down a career playing music and get a deal, you're gonna look back at this call and be like, I can't believe I was such a blue-pilled beta bitch calling in on something like this.
Yeah, let me jump in here, Rich. That if you were done, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Ben, so you want everything. You want the picket fence, and you want to be on the road, and you want to spin plates, and you want to be exclusive, and you want to break up, but you want to keep the past. And I think you got what you wanted from Rich when he first said, "Get yourself squared away. Get a record deal. Get your foundation." You seem to really respond to that. So maybe that's the message that you're looking for, is for somebody to tell you to pick a direction and go in it and get yourself squared away.
You have your best answer.
Yeah, that helps, man. Thank you.
All right, Ben. Thanks for
calling. All right, Ben. Good luck to you.
All right, we've got 718 on the line. We'll get you in just 1 second. I'm just going to copy and paste the number back in the chat again because it hasn't been a while since I put it in there. Control V. So call in number is 323-642-1618. Quick shout out. Let's take a quick break, commercial break. The Tactical Soap Company. There's a pinned link in the description in the top comment of this video. You get 10% off if you check out with coupon code Cooper. It's pheromone infused soap. You guys are showering anyway. If you want to support the creation of content on this channel, buy the soap. It's good stuff. By the way, heads up, there's a new product coming out in the next couple of months. I just shared on social media today. So if you follow me, you know what I'm talking about. Let's go to the next call here. Okay, we got 718 on the line. Let's fire him up. Okay, 718. What's your first name?
Joseph.
What's up, Joseph?
What's up, guys? You guys are doing a great thing here. I just want to touch upon a couple quick points, and then I'll ask my very, very high level question. So, just on the one-itis thing. I mean, I guess pretty much every guy here is probably, for most of us here, I guess we've all kind of had one-itis. Like, I don't know, man. Like in my experience, it pretty much came down to a chick that, you know, it was really just about sex, not necessarily about anything about amazing about her. And I'm guessing you guys, I think in the first episode, you had a bunch of guys that were just infatuated with this one woman just because of sex. So just wanted to put that out there. And then on the older women thing, older women dating younger guys, like it's my mind's still kind of evolving on this because I've met several women nowadays that are dating younger guys, and I myself have been involved with an older woman. And I'm curious if it's like just because, you know, the guys nowadays tend to be a little bit less informed on the dating and social landscape. So you have these successful women who kind of find these beta males that are just kind of easy to control, that'll do whatever they say. My thoughts still evolving on that, but I just wanted to put that out there. I don't know what you guys thought about that.
With respect to the older women dating younger dudes?
Yeah.
It's been happening for a long time. You know, if you know, there's a push, you know, with the female primary social order to telling women that, you know, you can do whatever men can do and you can do it better, sort of thing. So one of the things that's become more mainstream and more widely accepted, I think, is that, you know, women are like, well, they see a lot of older guys dating younger, more attractive women because of hypergamy, and it's open. So now they're kind of going around being, you know, sugar mamas too, which is why you'll see a 37-year-old dentist dating a 27-year-old engineer. And if they get married, it's,
right.
You know, sign this, move into my house, and these are my rules. It's not productive if you want her to enter your frame. It's not productive if you want to be the head of the household. That shit just not go down. So where it does work is if you're a 27-year-old dude and you go to one night and you meet a 40-year-old cougar and you have some fun. Okay, fine. You know, that's usually how it unfolds for the most part. And then they go their separate ways. But it's not often that younger men are wifing up older women, right? Did you have a red flag or something that you wanted to vet on this call?
Yeah, I had a pretty pretty high level question.
Okay.
So I'm 31 years old. I'm not where I want to be yet financially, but I'm getting there. Like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm working on my purpose, so that's great. And it feels good kind of seeing the progress from the work I've been putting in. But just you guys, if you were 31 years old working on your purpose, I'm not sure if you guys have kids or not, or if you guys have been married. I think Rich, you've been married before.
Yeah, I'm divorced. I got a 9-year-old, and Sean,
Would
who's married, he has a 12-year-old.
Okay. So I guess the question is, would you guys do it again? Would you guys get married? Would you guys, you know, have kids, even given the current landscape of things and everything? Or if you had to do it again, would you guys just kind of work on yourselves and kind of live the lone wolf lifestyle? I'm probably gonna have a follow-up to your response.
Well, yeah, I'll jump in here. Yeah, I would do it again, but only, you know, my wife is awesome and my daughter is awesome. But having said that, I can't honestly say that marriage is a good idea for young men right now. I just can't recommend it. And it's only because of the family court system, really. That's my main reason. And jumping back to your first point, I don't want to derail this too much, but as far as younger men and older women in long-term relationships and marriages, when my experience is that when a man who wants a mommy meets a woman who wants a son, then magical things happen and they get married.
Yeah.
That's. But did I answer your question?
Yeah, I mean that's your perspective. I'm curious to hear what Richard says because again, it's a balancing act. Like,
well, I've been vocal about marriage on my,
and it's just like,
yeah, like I got the question. So I've been vocal about marriage on my channel. So this is just me, repeating myself. I'm vehemently opposed against marriage, not per se of men and women being together, but when you get married in the Western world, you're basically inviting the state to become the head of your household. And if things don't work out, there's a whole list of terrible things that can happen to men. I've dealt with hundreds of men on coaching calls trying to help them exit their shitty marriages or their shitty divorces and get custody of their kids. I know Sean talks to people routinely about navigating the divorce landscape, and it's hostile. And in my view, any guy that chooses to let the state decide what happens to his money, his assets, access to his kids, that encourages women to behave very badly during a divorce to optimize their hypergamy and secure certain things that they really shouldn't be entitled to. You'd have to be an idiot. And I'm just going to say it over and over again. You'd honestly have to be an idiot. That being said, if you're married, don't get divorced because I said that, if you want to reproduce.
So are you advocating?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, are you saying basically you would say live with the woman? Like if let's say I'm 4 years from now, I'm 35 years old. I'm relatively where I want to be financially, physically, and all that good stuff. Are you saying that I should? You're okay with me finding a woman that I'm comfortable with, and living with her, but just not signing the legal document.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you're talking about having kids, let's think about the kids first. We know that what works best for kids is having an intact family with a mommy and a daddy. And that's not me being a social conservative, because I'm not a social conservative. If two dads or two moms was the best, that's what I would advocate for. But it turns out that a male influence and a female influence are the best thing for children. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have a commitment and that you can't have a private marriage. But like Rich is saying, you don't need to have, well, I don't know if Rich is saying this, I'm saying this, you don't need to have the state involved in your life. And this is something that Anthony Johnson talks about. He runs the 21 convention, and he had a marriage that was a private marriage, no state involvement, and it can be done.
Here's the thing though, if you're going to have kids, you're inviting the state automatically. You can try to contract out of it. You can sign a prenup with custody arrangements built into the prenup. It doesn't matter. All it's thrown out the window as soon as you have children, then you've automatically invited the state into that environment. Are you talking about having kids? Like you're trying to find a way to have kids without the state screwing things up?
Yeah, I mean, there's that, because there's a lot of content out on the internet, marriage, which is great. That's right. But then it's like, if you're a guy that potentially doesn't want to have kids, it's like, how do
Andrew Tate was on Rollo's channel earlier today. So the video's rendered. It's on his channel. It went live at 4:00. He was talking to him, and it doesn't matter where you go or what you do. I can poke holes through any idea, any presentation you've got to safely have kids in today's world, where I will present you with substantial risks. However, that being said, if you live in a part of the world like Eastern Europe, I think he's in Romania, but if you live in a part of the world where men are still valued, masculinity is still valued, there are no retarded family laws that penalize you for being a father, for being born with a penis, should the marriage not work out, that is a safer place to do it. But unfortunately, I just can't find any way to recommend marriage or having kids in the West today. Am I glad I have my daughter? Absolutely. Did I go through a whole shitload of trouble through the divorce and picking the wrong woman in the marriage? Yeah, but there are things that I could have done better potentially to minimize it. Like I could have read Sean's book. I could have been red pilled at the time. I could have understood, the concepts of the rational male. But even then, that doesn't guarantee anything. Women always reserve the right to change their mind at any given time. And anytime they do that in the West, the law is on their side. I did a video with DDJ on my channel about a month ago where he was talking about family law being broken in the West. Watch that one. That's an hour and a half, dude. But it's depressing. Like when you get to the end of it, you're going to be like, all right, this is done. I'm just going to go get my vasectomy now.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll echo what Rich said here, that once you do have kids, yeah, he's right. You're bringing the state into your world, and there's no way to opt out of that. So the only option, if you want to go that route, and I'm all for having kids, and I know it's incredibly risky, but you can't eliminate that risk. All you can do is try to mitigate it as best you can, and that's to read as much red pill content as you can, and to be very careful about how you vet. Then you minimize the risk. You never eliminate it.
Yeah, totally agree.
Right.
Cool.
And one last question, guys, and I'll hang up.
Okay.
Is there any circumstance where you guys would advise dating a girl that's older than you? Let's say.
You're breaking up.
I guess if she's a billionaire.
Well, let's face it. I mean, if she's a billionaire, you're signing a prenup anyway, so it's not like you're going to get any shit. Like women don't share their pot of gold with men. There's a ton of women out on the sexual marketplace in my age bracket when I got divorced who were divorced, who ended up, of course, getting primary custody of the children, who ended up getting the farm from their ex, and they made it clear. Now, I bring my own money to the table, but they made it clear that they got tired of running into guys that got divorced, raped, that had nothing to show for themselves in their 40s, and they weren't going to be taking care of another man, or they didn't want to have another child in their house, sort of thing. So it's not like that stuff's going to be shared with you. So is there any advantage to dating any women older than you? My answer is no. I mean, you should always date younger, in my opinion. Cool. I think that call wrapped up. So thanks for the call, Joe. We'll let that one go. And we're all out of callers. Right on. Okay, well, the lines are going to stay open for a little bit longer. Let me just paste that number in there. I don't know, man. It's sad. Whenever I talk about shit when it comes to like, marriage and how do you safely have kids, and it's like, I know that, even men have this inherent desire to, let me just put this in here, call in. It's 323-642-1618. But there's not many guys in our community that still support the notion of marriage in today's world. I mean, there's some guys in the Christian manosphere that think that there's a buffer with Christianity or religion that protects you from hypergamy or family law. But like I've talked to a lot of dudes now, and there's been many of them that have been religious in their own rights, whether it's Catholic, Muslim, Jewish, or whatever, where they thought that their religious beliefs were a buffer for some sort of safety net in their marriage, and it just it's just not true.
Yeah, there is no safety net in the Western world now for getting married. You just have to manage the risk as best you can if that's what you want out of life.
Yeah, I mean, and women aren't going to change it. Like they're not going to go marching on Capitol Hill, with big signs and pussy hats on, saying that the policymakers should change the laws to be more fair to fathers. I mean, why would they do that?
Well, there are women out there that believe that, but to whatever extent they exist, they are a very diffused interest as opposed to the concentrated interest that shows up on the Capitol steps with all of their signs and their organization and their social media connecting them.
Right. And if you have every advantage in a agreement that you enter, whether it's a marriage or a live-in arrangement or common law, if you have every advantage to enter in that agreement. I mean, you posted on Twitter that poll a couple of weeks ago, marriage is very high risk, low reward for women, and high reward, low risk for women. Or
I was asking each gender, do you consider, or for each gender, is marriage a high risk, high reward, high risk, low reward, low risk, high reward, and so forth? And the results were very unsurprising. That everybody who answered, which is it's not a very good poll, but because it's probably mostly guys, but everybody who answers says that marriage is a high risk, low reward endeavor for men. And that was probably 60%. And then 40% said that it was high risk, high reward. And for women, it was 100% low risk, high reward.
I'll be honest before we take the next call, 757. I'll get to you in just 1 second. I think this is going to be the downfall of the West. I think that we've seen the Greek Empire decline, we've seen the Roman Empire, like we've seen all these empires come and go, and they all had their own declines. And I think that this toxic version of feminism that we have today is going to be the decline of the West, because men are opting out of marriages. We have men getting vasectomies at 19. We have this toxic version of entitled, feminists that, are destroying men through the family court system. So word is getting out there, and it's not us. I mean, it's just getting out there by osmosis, I think. And I don't know, man, it's just sad, but it is what it is, right? Like, you try to save the ones that you can.
Yeah, and word is getting out there, and beyond word getting out there, people are just responding to the economic incentives, and they're just doing what makes sense, which is don't get married, don't have kids. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah, and that's why you get these guys that are just checking out completely. You get the MGTOWs that go their own way. You have the guys that will engage in the sexual marketplace, but on a limited basis. They'll never live in a way that the state views as marriage, sort of thing. And that's the only intelligent way to operate as a man. 757, let's throw you on the air. You're on. What's your first name?
Chris.
Chris, what's up?
Hey, what's going on? Just want to say thanks for everything you do. You guys, you have a great channel, Richard.
Thanks.
So, I've got a pretty a two-part story. All right, so I'm actually going through a divorce right now. And one of the biggest mistakes from this divorce was not signing a prenup. However, I got out of it pretty good, and she didn't actually come after my money. So one thing I got to tell the guys out there is, no matter what, always get a prenup, because she said she wasn't going to come after everything, but she actually did come after just a little bit.
Now, a lot of guys, sorry,
so my story is that,
just to stop you for 1 second, a lot of guys will tell you that a prenup isn't worth the piece of paper that it's written on. And you'll see movies like Divorce Corp, where even lawyers will say, I don't recommend them. I think they're a waste of time. But I'll tell you what a prenup does is it sets the intention clearly. You can't enter into a prenup that deals with things like custody arrangements, for example. You can't contract out of that, but you can clearly set the intentions that what I brought to the table at the start of the nuptials was mine, and what you brought was yours. So if it doesn't work out, you take your shit and go, and I'm going to take my shit and go. Now, those things crack open often, but if it's relatively recent from the time that you got married to when you need to rely on the prenup, they can save your ass. They're not going to save your ass if you were married for 20 years and she raised 3 kids and was a stay-at-home mom. Right. You're screwed then. It doesn't change anything. But go ahead.
Right. Yeah, so I'm happy Roll is in the chat, because basically what happened was I'm actually still going through the divorce right now. Mm-hmm. We live together, and we're trying to sell the house. I don't have enough money to move out. It doesn't make sense. It's not feasible quite yet. So we both own the house 50-50. Another piece of advice for guys, if you're married, if you're going to buy a house with a woman, make sure you can afford the house on your own. But here's my story. Basically, the first girl I actually met, this second girl I actually met after getting this divorce or going through it, because I'm dating right now. I'm back out on the scene trying to get my plates up. The second girl I met was BTT, and you guys really saved my ass, helped me identify that with, I think it was episode 20 of the Red Man Group. Mm-hmm. I mean, the daddy issues alone were a huge red flag, so I dropped that. Mm-hmm. Super clingy, daddy issues, the rape claims, afraid of abandonment. It was all there. And you guys really did a great job of just kind of highlighting that stuff. And after I learned about like the love bombing and all that, which happened, I just had to drop it.
Okay. You've got a red flag, like something you wanted to ask us?
Yeah. So, like besides like daddy issues and whatnot, if any woman has daddy issues, it's clearly a red flag, right? That was my main question.
100%. I mean, you can be in a relationship with a woman that has daddy issues, but it's going to be a lot harder than having a relationship with a woman that has a good relationship with her dad. I mean, hands down, all day long. You're right. A man, her father's a man. If she has a good relationship with him and she values men, you're probably going to be much better off than a woman that hates men, that didn't have a father around, or had a father that was a piece of furniture and never engaged, with her. You're always going to be better off with a woman that's got a great relationship with her dad, 100%.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the red flag I got from the daddy issues thing from this girl was that she's lived with her dad for 18 years. No one in their family says, "I love you." And she says she has no relationship with her father, although she lived with him for that long.
Yeah,
and
so
I was
he was
like,
a piece
okay,
of
you don't
furniture in the
value
house, then.
anything that a man brings to the table. I didn't say that to her clearly. I just, walked away. But I appreciate you guys' help. I just want to say thanks.
Okay, dude. Thanks. All right.
Yep. Take care.
Thanks. All right. Let's end that one. I got Blog Talk for another 20 minutes. You want to do one more call, Sean?
Yeah, let's do one more.
All right. We will take 951 because they were next up. 951. What's your first name?
My name's Kobe.
Kobe, I'm going to have to let you go, dude. Your audio is not very good, okay? All right. Let's try another one. 740. All right. 740, you're on. What's your first name?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Awesome. Thanks. What's your first name?
Hey guys. My first name is Mo, and I just want to say, Richard, thanks for the great content, and Sean, your book is on my book list, and I plan on getting that soon.
Cool.
Well, thank you.
You got a red flag you want to chat?
Yeah, just I'll try to be really quick, but right now I don't really have a red flag. But my last long-term relationship was over a year ago, and after that kind of brought me to Rollo's book, The Rational Male, Understanding Women. So I just really spent the last year kind of working on myself, and I love to travel. So when I was traveling, I was able to date foreign women. I'm from America. So, Richard, I know you did a video on this a little bit ago about dating foreign women or potentially marrying one, but I just wanted to get like your personal thoughts on, growing up here in America, especially recently. It's not like I can't date American girls, but the whole feminism, a whole bunch of this, a whole bunch of that. And I just found dating foreign women like a lot more fun. They're a lot more personally like down to earth. So obviously I'm not looking for marriage or anything, but I'm just looking down the line. What are your guys' thoughts on foreign women in general, and if it's worth kind of pursuing?
Let me jump in on this, Rich. I've seen enough examples of this problem to call it a trend. And that is that a couple of things can happen. That number one, she's very good at presenting herself as an angel because she's on the other side of the world and you see her periodically. So it's very easy for her to hide her red flags. And maybe she's not even doing it intentionally. Maybe she just feels good when she's around you, but that feeling will fade and the real her is going to come out. And like I said, I've seen this enough to say that it seems fairly reliable to me. And another thing that I've seen a few times, not quite as often, is that you find this ideal woman on other shores. She comes to America and she starts to discover victim mentality and feminism and the victim oppression Olympics. And then you're in worse shape than you would have been otherwise because she's really into it. So I don't know. It's a big risk.
I've done a bunch of videos now on guys seeking women across the pond. There's a TV show. I think it's called 90 Day Bride or something like that, or 90 Day Fiance. Do you know the one I'm talking about, Sean?
No, I don't.
They got video clips all over YouTube now, and I had a few of my guys send me copies. They just send them to me by DM or by email, and I've been thinking about doing a video, kind of like summing up a few of the observations from them. But the Coles note, like the distilled version is, they live in a shithole. They think that North America isn't a shithole, so they want to leave their shithole to come to our shithole. I mean, like, we live in a toxic feminist shithole, to put it in perspective. So, hypergamy does not seek its own level. It's not going to be satisfied in whatever shithole country she lives in, but she believes that it will be here. And the funny thing with these shows is, the narrative is she meets a white man who goes to the non-white man country. She thinks because he's from that country, he's loaded. And it turns out he's a government worker living in his mom's basement with like wrote like the 40-year-old virgin, basically, like packages of like toys and shit, and he's playing video games all day long, and he can't get a girl here, so he's going over there, and then she comes back and they're both disappointed. uh, it's a bad story that never ends really well. My take on it is, if you want to enjoy women from other countries, go to other countries and enjoy them there. Roosh does that. There's lots of dating coaches that have gone to Eastern Europe or Asia. Andrew Tate, we saw in today's broadcast, left, I think it was London that he got Me Too'd in, and he went to Romania. So, to bring them back here is never a good idea. I think it was in Eddie Murphy's Raw or Delirious, but there was that, unfufu, right? Brings back the African girl with the bone plate on the zebra. And within about 6 to 12 months, she wants half Eddie. So you got to ask yourself, the question of, do you really think that you're going to solve the problem that you have with women here by bringing another woman here, only to be immersed into the cauldron of the same problems that you have with the women here, sort of thing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. It's not like I can't date women here. I do. It's just maybe a little bit more in my age group, where it's just, I don't know, like sixes or sevens think they're higher than what they are. And it's just maybe the culture that's becoming in the dating world, in the Western world. So that's why it's like a good fresh air when traveling, not really having to deal with, those kind of stuff on an ongoing basis.
Where do you live, Chris?
Yeah, so I'm actually here in Ohio.
Okay. And you find the women in Ohio are sixes and sevens that thinks that they're what, nines and tens, like they're entitled?
Yeah, I mean, Ohio is not really like it's not much talent pool here, so it's more of like a get married a little bit sooner. It's not like that fast life like New York or Chicago or LA. So it's kind of like people in my age group are settling down, and the women or the girls that are in my age group, they're just really looking for something serious. And yes, you can kind of date, obviously younger, but then obviously the younger girls are, they can be flaky as hell. So it's just kind of dealing with all that at this current moment.
How old are you?
27.
Oh, dude, you shouldn't even be talking about marriage right now if you're single and you're dating and you're traveling. Like, if you want to be spoiled for choice, if you want to have women, coming at you, if you want your phone blowing up with notifications, like, work on yourself. The best advice that I can give any dude is make yourself your own mental point of origin, work on yourself, chase your own excellence, build the life that you want to lead and that you want to broadcast to your family and friends in the world as you're going to be, kind of navigating it. And if, as you're spinning plates, or as women come and go into your life, the cream will always rise to the top. It'll just be obvious to you, dude. It'll be like taking a frying pan to the forehead if she shows up. But to make her the priority, to put her on the pedestal, to make her the mental point of origin, you're going to start at a disadvantage. Like, that's a big red flag, right? Like, you doing you and becoming the best version of you. And if she shows up, awesome. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. Maybe it's here, maybe it's somewhere in Eastern Europe. Who knows? But yeah, don't put too much emphasis on, the one, or how do I find, like a seven that's really a seven and she's not entitled, sort of thing. That's just the nature of the Western woman. Toxic feminism has created this culture, and it's the reality of the situation. If you want to avoid it, you can do what many men have done and hop on a plane and become an expat and go somewhere else and create a location independent subscription revenue business and live on a beach in Thailand and do great. You can do lots of stuff, right?
Yeah. And Mo, you also got a job to do when you're in your 20s and you're spinning plates. Your job, besides having fun, is to learn how to vet women. And you can't properly vet a woman when she's in another state or she's in another country for two reasons. You can't get a solid baseline because your exposure to her is intermittent, and you can't build relationships with people in her circle, so you can't find out what she's really about. So if you are depriving yourself of that practice in vetting when you're in your 20s, then if you ever do decide you want to settle down, you've deprived yourself of a really important source of information.
that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, dude. We'll let you go. Thanks for calling in.
All right, Mo. Good luck.
I'm going to have to let the other callers go because my Blog Talk airtime is about to end. So sorry, 808-479 and 302. I'll try to get to you next time. Closing comments. Let's pimp Sean Smith for a little bit because he doesn't get enough pimping. His book, Tactical Guide to Women, grab it off Amazon. It's available. Sean T. Smith. It is a must read. Sean, where can people find you? You've got a YouTube channel, Twitter.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Iron Shrink, and you can find me on the web at docsmith.co. And I do have a YouTube channel, just Sean T. Smith site, or Dr. Sean T. Smith, I think it is. I got a new video up there today where I interviewed a lady who wrote a book about dating single parents. So if you're a single dad out there, she's pretty traditional. She's not really part of the red pill community, but she's got some good advice on things you should look out for if you're a single dad. Like how do you protect your kid's safety if you're dating and if your ex, her mother, your kid's mother is out there dating, and those kind of important questions. So you might give it a view.
All right. So on YouTube, it's Dr. Sean T. Smith. Is it DR or DOCTOR?
DR period.
Yeah. Okay. So Dr. Sean T. Smith, follow him on YouTube. Let's get him some more subscribers. You also do consultations out of the Denver area too, right?
I do. Yeah. A little booked up right now, but in the next month or two, things should loosen up, I hope.
Cool. So our next episode is scheduled. We're aiming to do these every Monday on the 14th. Sean may not be available. I think you're not going to have Wi-Fi that's going to be good on your trip.
The 4th, yeah, or the 14th. Next Monday, I'll be out in the middle of the ocean, hopefully on a boat, and I'm gonna try to call in audio. And I'll check in with you before then, Rich, and we'll see if the Wi-Fi is working.
All right. Well, we'll give it a test. If not, maybe I'll put the join link for somebody else to co-host with me. Maybe Rolo will hop on, or somebody else from the Manosphere group. But we'll wrap it up on that note. I want to thank everybody who participated, the call-ins. The show went really good. I'm glad the audio came out a lot better. We had people prep better, so we don't need a screener if we handle it this way. Make sure you smash the like button. If you have any comments about this broadcast, you can put them down below. I'm sure people that might have called in might want to read those later. And if you want to join my community, I guess the last thing I'll say is it is open. There's always a link pinned on the channel for my men's community. Lots of premium content going out there that does not end up on the channel. This is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. So if you like what I'm doing, hope you consider joining me there. It's entrepreneursincars.com/community. See you guys later. Peace out.